Hello, hello. Happy Monday, ladies. Welcome to our monthly AMA, Ask Me Anything live chat with Coach Nat. This month, we have a special topic that I will be chatting about tonight, and that is our annual Build Without Bulking program that is starting in just a few days, actually. We kick off this Saturday, October 5th. So we are within 1 week out to that program starting. Everyone who is in the academy will officially be in that program. I will be answering questions about that, clarifications about that, about the Keto Bikini Academy, and about the Build program. How are they different? How are they the same? And some specific questions I've gotten about the Build program to help clarify some of the questions y'all have as you consider whether or not you want to join us for that program. Let's see. And then I'm going to dive into a bunch of other topics. We've got some fun topics that y'all are asking about. So this will be a packed hour, or over an hour, as I sometimes go over an hour. Let's see here. Make sure I can see all the questions. Thank you, everyone, for the questions on Facebook and Instagram this week. Y'all dove in with some really great questions. So I did not have to go into my archives and pull questions from my FAQs that I get from time to time. All right. What up, fam? This is a great little group tonight. We got Mary Grace, of course, on board. We've got Karen. We've got Karen, or Bubbles, as we know her here in YouTube land. Jody is on. Mandy is on. Lana is on. Hello. Great to have you guys on with me. Anybody else checking in on the chat? Check in, say hi. Let us know where you're joining from in the world. And feel free anytime throughout this Q&A. It is a Q&A. It is an Ask Me Anything. So if you have new questions that pop up on your mind tonight, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will answer them as we go. All right, so let's see. Let's dive in tonight. This is going to be very random. I'm just going to randomly answer these questions. Maybe I should dive into the ones that are a little more specific to Academy and Build first. So if anybody's joining and watching the replay after the live, you'll get those answers about the Build program and the Academy right at the start, and then we'll dive into all the other topics of the evening. So you know what's coming in terms of topics. Some of the questions that I've gotten are about macro splits for losing the last 5 to 10 pounds on carnivore. That'll be a fun one. Celeste is curious about the hormone testing device that I've been using, and so I will share some info about that. Fears or struggles with gaining weight on a muscle building phase, which may relate to a lot of you joining the Build program. Training some specific skills-based things. That's for you, Mandy. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. I've got lots of great training questions. How to incorporate things like BJJ or combat training and functional fitness with a weight training program. That's from Jen, so I'll answer that. Stephanie has some questions about how long to stay in a building phase, and then long distance running, like marathon training. Will it hinder my building results? So we'll definitely dive into that. Y'all know that's one of my favorite topics. And then great question from Bethany about how to stop listening to the voice of sabotage. I added that to her question. That just this last time with sugar or with a binge. Got some good stuff to share there. All right, let's dive into these questions that relate to the Build and the Academy. This first question is broader than that. But it applies as well. And it's always a question that our ladies have a lot as we start new programs. So Laura asks, how to know whether to prioritize fat loss or health if it determines the macros I should be targeting. I've heard you talk about them being two different goals in a YouTube video, but in my mind, excess belly fat is a sign of metabolic issues. I'm aware excess belly fat is an indication that I may not be the healthiest I could be. Okay, so multiple kind of questions within a question here. So let's dive in. First, whether to prioritize fat loss or health. I will say health is always a priority with any body composition goal. So whether your goal is fat loss or muscle gains or recomp, and I'm going to get to kind of what those different phases look like in a moment, but regardless of what your body goals are, you do not have to choose between body goals and health. So it's not a matter of whether or not to prioritize fat loss or health. I would say the only time, I always like to say, you're never choosing an aesthetic goal over your health. In fact, we in the Academy, we use health markers, which we call biofeedback, your body's feedback, to guide the process of any body goal or phase season that you are in. So if you're on a fat loss phase and fat loss is your goal, we use your biofeedback to determine your health at any given time throughout that process. And that's where we may make adjustments to things. So the only time I would say a body goal might compete with your health is if you are already very lean, which it sounds like you are not because you asked about excess body fat, belly fat, and metabolic, and how that relates to metabolic conditions, right? Yes. Excess body fat absolutely contributes to disease states. So metabolic health, absolutely. I generally recommend, I'm going to get to my I'll give you my recommendation of, let's say, body fat percentage and when I would recommend fat loss as the goal. But in general, first and foremost, the only time I would say that a body goal might compete with your health is if you are already incredibly lean, you are under eating, and you're only interested in getting leaner. So you want to continue to pursue fat loss, but you're barely eating anything and you're very lean. There's nowhere to go from there. We have to build. We have to do something other than fat loss, right? Now, for my ladies with some excess body fat to lose, if you have been severely under eating for a long period of time, that is one of the times where I will recommend a metabolic restoration phase or a reverse diet. So I do have ladies that fit that description who are not at their ideal body composition, would love to lose more body fat, but they're already so severely under eating that I cannot cut their calories. There's no way I would recommend that they eat any less than they already are. And so this kind of question, I'm going to give kind of my general advice, but what we do in the Academy is we look at all of those things. So you fill out a very in-depth intake form when you join, so we understand where you're coming from. We want to know, have you been in a caloric deficit? Have you been under eating for pursuing fat loss for the last 3 months or longer? Have you been doing any fasting? We ask all kinds of questions about what your current macros are, if you've been tracking or not, if you've been in a surplus and a deficit, what your training is like, what are you doing for exercise, all of your current body composition stats and all that. We're going to ask you all of that when you come in. So then we can advise. So you don't have to know coming in which one is right for you. If you're not sure, there's a question on there. We're going to ask you that. And you can say, I'm not sure. I need you to advise. And then we'll tell you what we think. Professional opinion. But to prepare you for that, and as you're thinking about this, and that kind of second question within your question is, if that determines the macros I should be targeting. Yes. So whether or not you are focused on fat loss, or maybe you're focused on muscle gaining, purely gaining muscle, or you're focused on metabolic restoration, which are the seasons I talk about. Cutting season for fat loss, reverse dieting or metabolic restoration is where we slowly bring your calories back up and we prepare you to get to maintenance and finding your maintenance. Then we have a maintenance / recomp phase, because you can still get some body recomposition while you're in a maintenance phase. And then the building season, where you are purely going into a surplus for the goal of gaining muscle, and you're not worried about whether or not you're losing body fat right now. That's the main 4 seasons that I talk about, or phases. So there is a masterclass I want you to check out, and this will really help you think the way you're thinking about what your priority goal is for your body composition. It is called Which Season Should You Be In? I will put the link when this live video is done. I will put the link to that masterclass in the description below so you know where to find it. Coach Mary Grace can help you inside the Facebook group find it where it is there. We'll make sure you get that, and you can be thinking, you can watch that and kind of let us know your thoughts in the Facebook group after you see that masterclass. And if you have any further clarifying questions, of course, if you join the Academy, as I said, we'll be happy to share our thoughts with you and let you know where we think you should be. Okay. Welcome, welcome, Celeste. You're no longer a nun. Woo! Welcome, Rhonda. Great to have you here. And Debbie. Oh, I'm not going to make it, but we'll watch the replay. Cool. Thank you for the support. We love you, Debbie. All right. So, second question is about the training levels inside the Academy. And this is for the Build program. This is for any time. We have 3 training levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And Laura asks, what's the difference between the levels? The beginner, intermediate, advanced KBB training plan. Is it just the type of exercises and intensity, or also the frequency, like how many days a week? Okay, and then she gave me some information about herself and what she does. Okay, so here's the way I like to explain it for the ladies trying to decide where they want to go. Basically, the main difference is the difficulty and complexity of the exercises or training methods that we're using. So the advanced program is going to have the highest difficulty level of exercises. Not all the exercises, because we do use a lot of basics. The basics work in bodybuilding. Okay, we don't want to just throw those away. So we incorporate a lot of the basics, but we may incorporate different types of training methods, like different types of sets, pyramid sets, for example. If you don't know what these mean, don't worry. And if they sound intimidating, then I would say probably advanced is not for you. So we may use different types of sets or different rep schemes, or perform an exercise using a more advanced modality. So we may incorporate tempos. We may incorporate certain types of supersets that are more difficult, more taxing to the muscles. Generally, also, the advanced program has the most volume, and then the intermediate has kind of that Goldilocks middle of volume and difficulty. And of course, the total volume is going to change the duration of the workout. So the longer workouts are advanced. Intermediate will be a more medium duration, and the beginner program will be the shortest duration workouts. So when I say volume, I mean exercises, sets, and reps that are prescribed in the program. You are responsible for the load, how much weight you're lifting, and the intensity level. So we don't tell you how much intensity to be using, other than what I teach in my training principles, which is one of the first videos you'll watch when you join the academy. I have all the training principles. We go through a lot of vocabulary and how to think about your training and how to approach your training. And that does not change based on the level, but your level of understanding of these concepts does change as you work with these concepts for longer. So many times we have ladies join us as beginners, join the beginner program, and move up to intermediate after some time with us. It is less likely that you are going to move up to advanced unless you are already an advanced lifter. And I'm going to tell you, a couple of programs ago, I really pushed the advanced level to another level. I would consider the advanced training program now to be an athlete level training program. And probably the ladies in the group who've been in the advanced program can tell you it is very challenging. So each program block is what I call them, training blocks, which are about 6 to 8 weeks long, depending on the program. The build program will have 2 blocks, each 6 weeks in length. So our current training block, the advanced program, has 5 days of training per week. But usually, most of the time, I work with a 4-day training split. So we will have 4 days of strength weight training. And we may also add optional additional days like a core and conditioning or a recovery day that is really stretches and foam rolling and things of that nature, or a cardio day, which we will not be adding cardio for you in the build program, although we will be talking about how to utilize cardio if fat loss is your focus, because just because we're calling it a build program doesn't mean everybody in the program has to be in a building phase. Excuse me, y'all. I have to remove a troll real quick. Okay, now that that's cleared up, now that that infiltrator is gone. So the advanced program, currently 5 days, but we will be going back to a 4-day program for the build phase 1, build block 1. I don't know yet what we're doing in block 2, so that may change again, but I really like a 4-day split. I will say, the academy is made up of women 40 plus. And by plus, I mean 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Okay. We are talking about women going through perimenopause, postmenopause, or are postmenopausal or have been for a long time. Our bodies need recovery. And that is a drum I beat a lot. We are only good as our recovery. So I don't have y'all killing yourselves and then training again the very next day most of the time. So yeah, it's not, none of the programs are 6 days of weight training. We never do that. We want proper recovery. But in terms of where you would sit, I would probably have you start in the intermediate program from what you've shared about yourself. Most people, I would say, would belong in the intermediate level and can stay there for a very long time because we teach you how to make your training your own. And you can ramp up or down the intensity, the load, the difficulty, the progressive overload, all the things that we teach based on what you need at that time. And that may change day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season for you. So we teach you how to really own that for yourself. And there's a lot of progression and regression you can do within the intermediate program. So unless you're brand new, like within your first 1 to 2 years of lifting, I would say you'll fit best in the intermediate program. All right, and then this was a question from before, but I wanted to answer it here about academy versus the build program, because there was a little confusion about macros, for example. I don't know where these trolls are coming from today, y'all. I'm sorry. Let's see if there's a setting there's probably a setting I need to update on my StreamYard, which I'll have to look into after this, but I don't know. The trolls are coming in. Maybe that means I've made it. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So in the academy, you get customized, personalized macros when you join. In any of our limited time programs like the Build, you will get personalized custom macros when you join. That's always true, whether it's a program or you join the academy any time of year. We will always ask you to track what you're already eating first so we know where you're coming from. And we'll ask you to do that for 1 to 2 weeks. And once we have a solid 1 to 2 weeks of data, nutritional data from you, we will set your what we call starting macros. And then the rest of the time that you are in the academy, whether it's a program like the Build or any old time, we will be helping you figure out when, why, and how to change or adjust your macros as needed. It can change as often as weekly, or as infrequently as you could be on the same macros for months. It all depends on how your body is responding, how you are feeling, your biofeedback, and your results. And this is where we ask everyone in the academy to speak up, because the difference between the academy and private coaching is that in private coaching, we're holding your hand. The private coach, your one-on-one coach is looking at your macros every single week and telling you what we want you to do week to week. That's the difference. I've gotten that question a lot too about the difference between private coaching and academy. Sometimes there's a conception or perception that you need to be advanced to work with a coach one-on-one. It's actually, that couldn't be further from the truth. Most people who seek private coaching want more specific, more support, more hand-holding, and more detailed, closer look at what they're doing. And a lot of the time it's because you're struggling with something. You need more help. And that's essentially, that's what private coaching is. You have access to your coach anytime in the inbox. You can ask us questions anytime we're available to you privately. And we don't have to do that within the forums in the community. If you are in the academy or the group programs like the Build, you have to ask your questions either in the group forums, which we have multiple forums, or on the Zoom calls, the group calls, or in your check-ins, and you will get feedback as a group. So it won't be private. That's the main difference there. So for anyone who's curious or considering whether or not to join the Build in the general group program or to do the VIP enrollment and do that with private coaching, that would be if you are a more private person and you don't think that you are going to be comfortable interacting in the group, the private coaching would probably be a great thing for you. But you also don't have to make that decision in advance. If you want to jump in and experience what it's like first for a month and then decide you want to add on private coaching, we always offer that to academy members at any time. So if you join the Build program and the general program, but 1 month in you decide you want to add on a month or 2 of private coaching, we can work with you to do that later. So also with private coaching, you get your own custom training program. And that is something that we do not offer in the group programs. So in the group programs, you will be in one of those 3 levels, and you'll be doing the same program as the other ladies in your same level. If you don't have access to certain equipment, there will be alternate exercises you can choose. We always try to include a handful at least of alternate exercises. So there will be something for you in there. Now, with private coaching, let's say, and then we're going to get into some questions that these ladies had about, I have this other training going on. How do I incorporate that, right? If you have private coaching, we write you a fully custom program. If you want a completely different program than what everybody else is running. A lot of our ladies in the group like to have the same program as the group, but need certain things modified for them. So you have a particular injury, or a limitation with movement in a certain body part. So you can't do certain exercises and you need different exercises, or you don't have certain equipment and you want to still follow the main program, but you need different equipment or maybe a different schedule, or You need the programs to be, the workouts to be shorter in duration. So whatever it is that you need, or you just want to work on a particular body part, it might, anything you want, basically, if you're working one-on-one, we can create the program that's going to work best for you training wise. You also have the option of sending us private videos to get feedback on your technique or your form, where the group, we have a forum for that. So you would need to post those videos in the forum where the group can see them. And a lot of the time, ladies who are not as comfortable posting videos in there love the option of being able to post that video just for their own coach. So, great point, Rhonda. She says a lot of people like private coaching for accountability. At least that's why I do it. Yes, added level of accountability. Absolutely. In the group, and this is the main thing that I try to get across about the difference between academy and private coaching. Academy means you're in a group. We're not going to chase you down. We're not going to find you if you go missing. You can get very quiet for a very long period of time. You can choose not to do check-ins. You can choose not to even log into the app. But if you have private coaching and we don't hear from you, we are finding you. So there's definitely a different level of accountability for sure. If you're not doing your check-in, we're going to message you. If we don't get a message back, we will email you. We're going to find you. So that's a great way, yes, of knowing coach is looking at what I'm doing. Coach is looking a lot more closely at what I'm doing. And coach is going to holler at me if I don't holler at her, for sure. All right. Let's see. I think that was that it? Oh, the second part of that question about the macros was, do the macros stay the same for the whole program? Not necessarily. It's completely dependent on, like I said, your body, how you're responding to things, your biofeedback. So we're constantly talking about this stuff in your check-ins, on our Zoom calls, in the forums. So anytime you're unsure about your macros, you can post, bring it to a call, and we will help you figure out whether or not you need to change your macros. Basically, you're never stuck with macros that are not working for you in the academy. We don't just set it and forget it. The way that I created the academy was the way that I work with private clients, and that is the way a competition prep coach would work with a competitor. It doesn't mean I'm a drill sergeant and we're, pushing you really hard. It means we look at things closely. We manage things week to week, month to month. Does anything need to change now? Does anything need to change now? That's the way we do it on a prep. That's the way we do it in the academy. So you're learning the principles of truly being a bikini pro. There's no secrets. There's nothing that I call this channel Keto Bikini Secrets, because I'm sharing all the secrets. There's really no secret. In the academy, we're teaching you exactly what you would need to know and exactly the way we would do things if you were getting ready to get on stage. All right. So bikini bodybuilding at its best. All right, let's go back up now to the other questions. And anybody else who has questions about the build program, you can still ask those questions. We are not, enrollment will not close until, I'll probably leave it up through Saturday and maybe even through that first week of the program, because we're not starting the training part until the following week. We always start, this is a really important thing to note, every program that we start with an intro week. So the first week of the build, you don't have to dive into everything and know how to do everything immediately. It's not, I always like to say, it's not a challenge. It's not a hurry up and do everything perfectly from day one. We always teach you to ease into it. But on my website, nataliejgrasso.com, there is a page about the build right there in the top navigation. And it has some frequently asked questions there as well. So you can get some more questions answered there, or ask more questions in the Facebook group and we will answer those, or drop them in the comments here and we got you. I love y'all. Becky, Rhonda are shouting out the private coaching. Becky says it has been a game changer for me. And Rhonda says, oh, I'm trying to show it. I think everyone should try private coaching for at least 1 to 2 months when they start the academy. It helps a lot, sisters. And they are both with Coach Mary Grace. So y'all, Coach Mary Grace is amazing, y'all. She's killing it. All right. Let's see. Let's go back up to the top. Celeste, I got you, girl. All right. Celeste asked, what is the hormone testing device you're using? Did I miss the info? No, you didn't miss it because I didn't share it yet. This week, I'm doing my next prep update, and I will mention it there, but I plan to do a whole separate video that is a review and a how-to. I have requested a code. I think I will get a code from them. The jury is still out in terms of whether I truly recommend it or not, which is why I haven't done that video yet. But I am starting to figure it out a little bit better. I'm starting to understand the values, the data a little bit better. I still want to go down some more rabbit holes and get some more questions answered before I shout it from the rooftops. But the name of the company is OOVA, OOVA. They have an app with the same logo here. Oops, hold on. Let's see if I can show it. OOVA app. It's just like that. So, and look at how cute this little bag they send you. This is the little holder for the test strips, which I never use because I do 2 strips at a time and I don't bother with this. This would actually end up taking me longer. But this is the little holder thing. And then you get these E3G. This is the estrogen metabolite test. And this is LH and PDG, which is LH and progesterone. They are metabolites, urine metabolites. So you get these little test strips. Your hormones have a lot to say. Easy peasy. They're cute. These have the test strips inside of them. You can attach them to this little holder and put it on this little thing because there's a timer and you have to set a timer and wait 10 minutes after you dip the sticks in your pee, which is the way I would recommend doing it. I do not do the peeing on the stick. If y'all are skilled in that department, that's what you could do, but I do the option where you can pee in a cup and then put the little, it's kind of like if you've ever done a fertility test or a pregnancy test, it's like that. So you need to let it sit in the urine for like 30 seconds until you start to see the window, indicator window show that it's doing something. And then some lines will show up. And then those lines talk to the app, and then the app tells you what your estrogen, progesterone, and LH, luteinizing hormone, levels of metabolites are in your urine. So for example, here's what the app looks like. And then I can go to my journal, and this is like the overview. This is what I'm still trying to understand, what all these things mean. They have little key at the bottom to tell you what colors mean, like when you have your period, and then when you have elevated estrogen, for example, which is all these light green marks. I have a lot of days where my estrogen is elevated. So it's interesting to see that, and you should be able to see when you ovulate and post-ovulation. Mine doesn't have any. So that's one of the big questions I have, and that's the main reason I'm using it. It's one of those things that you can use. Jody, here's to answer your question. Is that hormone program only for ladies that still menstruate? So it is for the main 2 reasons that you would use it is for fertility or perimenopause. So I'm using it to try to understand what's happening during perimenopause, because I never know, how long my cycle is going to be, if I'm going to get it or not, or what's going on. I don't know if you're fully postmenopausal, if it would benefit you or not. That might be something to look into with the company, but it's mainly for trying to identify if and when you're ovulating, and then what else is happening with your hormones throughout the cycle. So that's, I'm using it for the perimenopausal piece. Am I even ovulating? What's going on? Is there any rhyme or reason when I can expect my next cycle? And I'm also trying to identify if I notice symptoms or things happening when I'm seeing, like, for instance, those estrogen surges. If I have certain certain symptoms that seem to always happen around those high estrogen days, for example. So that's my level of understanding about it thus far. But it's my third month, I think now. I'm in the middle of the third month of using it. And so they can take a few months to really figure you out. You have to be tracking your cycle and your symptoms and using them for a while for them to kind of be able to tell you what they think, basically. So I have more to research about it, but I will say too, it's quite pricey. I am doing like the premium one where I can do it every single day. The more basic option is 15 days out of the month, but I want 30 days out of the month because I'm trying to figure out really what's going on. And so that's costing me like $200 or $250 a month. So just to give you that pricing information. So of course, if I get that discount code and I end up really thinking that it's worth it, then I will definitely let y'all know and I will get you that code. That's where I'm at with it so far. Okay, let's see. Let's dive down to Jenny's question. Even though I am building muscle, how do I cope with possible weight gain? It messes with my brain. Okay, so first, there are 2 masterclasses I'm going to refer you to that specifically deal in depth with this topic. One is called Embrace the Gains, and one is called Mindset for Recomp and Building. I'm going to elicit Mary Grace's help with sending you those 2 links. I know she's got you covered, so she will shoot you those 2 links in the app so you can find those masterclasses. But in general, I'm going to call out the language here. So how do I cope with possible weight gain? That tells me if you're talking about possibly gaining weight, you're telling me it hasn't happened yet. So we got to take a step back and deal with the mindset, right? So my number one rule for everything in life, do not create unnecessary suffering. And my ladies, I'm sorry, but so many of you are worriers. I want you to be warriors, not worriers. Okay? So the first thing would be find accuracy, right? I always talk about identifying this emotional brain and then, bringing it back into the logical, physical world, right? Your limbic brain is doing that. When you say it messes with your brain, it's messing with your emotional brain, right? So we want to bring it back to the prefrontal cortex and our logical brain. So first, has it even happened yet? Is this something that even deserves any time in my brain? Any space in my life? Never stress over something that hasn't happened yet. There will be time to worry later if and when it happens. But don't create stress for yourself now over something that's possible. Okay, there's nothing to cope with until there's something to cope with. So if you haven't gained any weight yet, It does not deserve space in your mind. Now, secondly, if and when that time comes, you gain 1 pound, right? There's probably going to be another time where you need to find the logic there. 1 pound. There is a day-to-day fluctuation where most people's weight fluctuates more than 1 pound a day. So that's nothing. That's when you have to calm that emotional brain. And then secondly, lean on your coach and your community. When the emotions start creeping up, we got you. Okay, come and holler at us. Tell us what the thoughts are saying, because this is the thing I say in all the mindset videos. It's the same practice regardless of what the issue is. Be with the thoughts. Don't try to avoid the thoughts. Don't try to stuff them down with food. Be with the thoughts. What is the thought? Capture it. Write it down. Capture everything that limbic brain is saying to you. Get curious. Start asking it questions to try to find the accuracy, because there's a lie in there. There's always a lie in the emotional brain that's trying to spiral you out. So you got to bring it back to logic by asking it questions. You don't argue, right? They say don't argue with fools, right? So don't create a problem that's not there. Watch the master classes. Holler at us. We got you. And then always practice. Don't ever trust a thought you think. Don't let it go by unchecked. Capture the thought, write it down, and then ponder it. Be with it without judgment. Where's this thought coming from? Where could this, why am I thinking about this? Is that really something I need to worry about? What evidence do I have? All of those questions I ask all the time. I probably talk about those in those master classes. All right, let's get into some training questions here. Mandy says the single leg box squats in one of our current leg days, she says, are awesome. I love it because it's hard for me, but I can already see they're getting better. Yes, so she's talking about working from the single leg box squat to the pistol squat. How do you recommend I keep working on these when you change our training program? Great question. So the general answer I'll give you here, and then we can talk more in depth about it in your feedback in the academy and on the Zoom call if you want to get into it in more detail. So the general answer, though, is that you can continue to work on like any skill-based movement you want anytime, even daily. You could just do one set of a few reps every day. That's something some of our members do with pull-ups or push-ups or chin-ups or a particular, skills-based functional movement kind of a exercise. So by all means, you can just throw them into the program wherever you want, or do a few of them every day just to keep practicing the skill. And then as I finalize the program, I can tell you specifically when we get into the program, hey, this would be a great day to put them in here, or you could alternate this exercise with them. So I'll give you that more detailed stuff as we get into the new program. Okay. Jen and Stephanie have similar-ish questions about combining other styles of training with their weight training. So for Jen, it's combat training, BJJ, and some functional stuff. So what I would recommend is that you are going to need to establish a schedule that works well for you to recover properly and enough and not overtrain. And hey, this one's for Jenny too, because Jenny's one of our resident OCR ladies, obstacle course races and CrossFit and all the fun things. So this would be great for you too, Jenny and Lana, and so many of y'all that have other things that you enjoy doing. So first things first, I would establish, okay, how often do I want to do BJJ or combat training? Are we talking once a week? Are we talking more than once a week? Are we talking just maybe once a month or a couple of times a month? So figure that out first. And then for your functional training, how frequently would you want to incorporate that? Maybe once a week would be a great one for that. And then determine, okay, based on how many days a week I want to do these other activities. And it's always kind of a priority thing we have to consider. And this is what I'm going to get into with Stephanie's question is, what is my main priority first, right? In Jen's case, maybe it's that right now you want a well-rounded fitness regimen. You are not worried about bodybuilding being your priority. Now, we've talked about potentially her getting on stage in the future. And if and when it comes time to do a prep, it would be different. I would be recommending something different. I would say BJJ and functional is going to have to take a backseat right now so we can build your comp prep training plan. But we're not there yet. So in the meantime, I would say what I would probably recommend for our next block is because hint, hint, wink, wink, sneak peek, our build block 1 is going to be different from what we've been doing in the academy. It is going to be a 4-day full body training program, meaning you are training your every muscle group at least twice a week with full body upper and lower, some exercises for upper, some exercises for lower, 4 days a week. So the way I'm organizing it is into a push day and a pull day. So you're pushing muscles versus you're pulling muscles. So you get proper recovery between your days. And you don't feel too sore from training a particular body part to be able to train the next day full body. I am absolutely loving it already, y'all. This may be my new favorite thing. So we'll see how y'all like it. And we might just do it again in block 2. But just so you know, that's what the training is going to look like. So you're going to be hitting, it's going to be a very, it's going to make you feel fit. It's going to give you better recovery and make you feel less fatigued each day. If you do it right, we're going to do a lot of teaching you how to do this right. And it'll be easy to modify if you can't do all 4 days. So in Jen's case, I would say I would probably pick 2 days out of the 4 to do each week. So instead of doing 2 push days and 2 pull days, you'll do 1 push and 1 pull. And then you can alternate push and pull 1 week with push and pull 2 the next week. So you're still getting the benefit of the varied workouts, but you're just alternating them week to week with your other activities. So full body weight training twice a week, and then your other activities could take 2 or maybe up to 3 days a week. And I would absolutely have 1 absolute full rest day, and then 1 day could be an active rest, which we will be incorporating into the next program as well. So you could use hours, or you could use another thing as your active rest day if it's like just a fun activity you like to do that's active. Hopefully that answers your question. I think a full body program is so perfect for that, actually, because you don't have to like pick which body part you're going to skip and not train in a week. You'll still get everything trained. Okay, so Stephanie's question is about long distance running. What is the recommended, first it was what is the recommended amount of time for someone like myself to be in a building phase? So for anyone in a building phase, but particularly someone like yourself, for everyone else, Stephanie is lean, very fit. She looks jacked. She's not overweight. She's not in a dangerous place with her body fat percentage. I meant to mention this earlier when I was talking about what I generally recommend when fat loss is also beneficial for health is if you are over 30% body fat. So 35, 40, 50 something percent body fat, fat loss is going to be your goal for a while. And I would say until you get down to 29%. And then we want to talk about potentially doing a restoration and a building phase, and then you can go into another cut to get down to that comfortable kind of mid-20s range. But Stephanie's lean, like athlete lean, but not dangerously lean and not unhealthy lean. So for you, Stephanie, and anyone else in that boat, I would say you get to stay in a building phase as long as you want to, really. If I was not cutting down for a show every other year, I would stay in a building phase for the rest of my life. Or maybe I would alternate between like building and maintenance. Maybe there would be a time where I don't want to keep pushing my calories. So for you, I would say let your biofeedback be the mark, right? Am I stuffed? Am I tired of eating so much? Is my body fat, kind of increasing now to a level where I'm not comfortable with? Am I sick of eating and I need a break from eating? That's usually what will tell us it might be time to do a little mini cut to get you back into the mode of wanting to build, feeling comfortable building, and your body being happy building. So listen to what your body has to say to tell you, if it's time to take a break from building, or if you just don't want to be so focused for a little while and you want to kind of pull back and just live in like a maintenance. That's cool too. So the fun part is when you get to where you're at, it's totally about what you want to do. Now, the next couple questions are about the long distance running and the daily step count. So will distance running twice a week hinder my building results? If so, how do I avoid this? And then the second question was, I average about 10,000 steps daily and have a sedentary job. Could a higher step average be hindering my building phase? She says, I think I know the answer to the last two questions, but I find it challenging to not stay active. I get antsy and restless, and I like to move my body. Okay, so first things first, I don't think there's anything wrong with 10,000 steps a day. Kind of depends on how you're getting them. If you're forcing it, but it sounds like, you'd be forcing yourself not to move. So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Your body has adjusted to that. Your body is going to adjust to whatever you do. So if you were to pull back on that, you may feel a little off. You may feel uncomfortable. Maybe your digestion isn't as good because your body has gotten used to your level of activity. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with 10,000 steps a day. Maybe if you were doing 20,000 steps a day or 15,000 steps a day every day, like I would say that is going to be hard to maintain for the rest of your life. And it's getting a little excessive. But I think 10 is fine, in my opinion. And I don't think it's hindering your building unless you are noticing you're tired, you're not recovering well, your muscles are sore before, it's time to train them again, and you're struggling to get the outputs in the gym. So your strength is not improving, has stalled, or has gone backwards, or you're experiencing more DOMs, more muscle soreness, difficulty recovering, you're feeling tired, all of these kinds of things. So your biofeedback will tell you if it's hindering you. Now, will long distance running twice a week and you mentioned in the academy, in your check-in, you mentioned marathon running. That absolutely will. That absolutely is a competing priority to muscle building. It is literally teaching your body to pare down muscle. That's what long distance cardio does. Because to be good at long distance running, you don't want all that heavy machinery on board. So this is why you don't see jacked bodybuilder looking long distance runners, right? Marathon runners usually don't have a lot of muscle. So it is a competing priority, and it's going to come down to, what matters most to you right now. I've worked with runners before who have taken a season or two to focus on building and then wanted to add the running back in. I will tell you it did hinder their progress, but it's about, if you really want that goal, like if running a marathon is your number one priority and you want to focus on that, and it's, maybe just for this season, and then you essentially have to be okay with whatever that might mean for your muscle building goals. I had to give up pole dance fitness when I started bodybuilding competitively. They just could not coexist. I could not train for pole fitness and perform and all of that, and also train for bodybuilding. So, it's kind of like with kids, right? You tell kids they can't do every sport, they can't do every club. You kind of have to look at what makes sense for them, and maybe they pick one or two things that they could do, but you can't have your kids in everything, right? So kind of same idea there. What do you want? What do you care about most in this season?
You.
Here I go blushing again. I got some troll comments tonight, babe. I got to tell you about those later.
Really?
I had to block a couple.
What? We're starting to get there.
Getting there. This is how we know. Broken the veil. All right. Next question was about.
Can I be a troll?
I'm going to be a troll. What are you talking about?
We're about to talk about sugar and binge eating.
Sugar and binge eating.
How to stop listening to that voice that says, just this once with sugar or one last binge, you'll be fine. So sick of failing and feeling like crap when I'm 5 pounds from goal. First, let me just say this. I was not going to say this, but I just read this again and I have to say it. You're 5 pounds from goal? Honey, you haven't failed anything. I say it all the time. You're not a failure until you're dead. You haven't failed anything until there's not another day to get up and try again. Okay, so first things first, let's get that first. You are not a failure. You are not failing. Okay, you might have a particular struggle right now, or challenge or obstacle, and that is normal and natural. Okay. All right. So you gave us a little bit of background on yourself. So you shared that you work out a lot, you do so much activity, you've added in some carbs. You do a high protein day 1 to 2 times per week, in between high fat, fully carnivore, 0 carb days, and usually add in half a cup of blueberries or half a cup of gluten-free oats or cream of rice cereal, 1 zucchini, asparagus, or half an avocado. Not all at once. I choose 1 or 2 of those options each time. It's really to help replenish my system, and I do feel better since doing this. But lately, if junk food is around at night and I'm exhausted and overtired and bored, I give in and binge. I always feel absolutely awful for at least 18 hours after and still keep doing it. Okay, couple of things here. First and foremost, yeah, it is true that when you do start adding carbs back in, you have to be very, very cognizant of how that can impact you. And so one of those things is that it can increase cravings particularly for carby things, sugary things. So if you're thinking about junk at night being like sugary things, which you mentioned just this once with sugar, right? It absolutely could be the higher carbs that are driving that. So particularly the biggest culprits in my experience are the sweeter fruits and the grains, the oats and the cream of rice, for example, are likely causing some issues with blood sugar. And so I don't know if you've tracked your blood sugar, but that might be interesting to see if your blood sugar might be tanking at the end of the night, and that makes it more difficult for you to fight those cravings. But the bigger thing, I think, is the mental thing, and this is what you mentioned here. If I'm exhausted, overtired, and bored, right? These are all emotions, and none of those things are going to be fixed with food. Yes, food can help with being tired, right? That's why your brain is driving you to get sugar because, well, for one, you gave it some carb, and so it is now remembering, oh yeah, carbs are energy. So we're exhausted, we're tired, give us carbs, right? That's what's happening inside of you, and that's very difficult to fight, right? So 2 things. Number 1, watch my video called I Binged, Now What? I give my step-by-step plan for getting out of the cycle there. And this, I think, is what you need. I will tell you specifically, first do this, then make sure you're doing this. There's like, I think 4 or 5 steps I put in there. One of those things is making sure you are eating enough throughout the day to not leave yourself hungry at the end of the day. So when you're feeling exhausted and overtired and maybe bored, are you also hungry? You know, you need to establish, am I physically hungry? Do I need to eat more food? And if that, in that case, the first thing you would need to do is give yourself more real food before turning to whatever junk. I don't know where you're at with your body composition now, but I remember you were extremely lean. You had been trying to get to basically competitor level leanness. So I don't know if you're still there or if you've already reversed out of that and you are now at a higher body fat percentage, but this may be hard to hear, but you may need to gain weight to get to a place where your body is no longer feeling threatened. And that can take some time, eating more food and actually putting on some weight, some of that including body fat. When we try to live for too long, too lean of a body fat percentage, especially as women, good luck fighting all of those physiological hormones that are telling you desperately to eat more. So that's another piece. But that's an assumption because I'm not sure where you're at now. All right, the other piece of advice is this. I highly, highly recommend you go and read Dr. Glenn Livingston's book, Never Binge Again. This thing was monumental in my journey. I recommend it all the time. And you can get a free PDF version on his website, neverbingeagain.com. Dr. Glenn Livingston, Never Binge Again. And he has a whole bunch of other books. They're like quick, small reads, all about defeating what he calls the pig brain. That's what I always call the limbic brain, right? He calls it the pig. And he teaches you, one, how to create your personal food plan. A lot of the ladies in the academy are working through that now because I've shared with them a template I created based off of his plan template. And then he lays out how to practice what he calls refuting the voice of sabotage, which he calls the pig. That is absolutely key. Just like anything else, like any other goal, you need to focus on it to overcome it. It's not going to stop from just hoping or wishing or proclaiming today's not the day. Today, I'm not going to do it. Trust me. I was in that loop for a very long time. So watch my video. I binged Now What? I'll put that in the description when the live video is over, so you could grab that link there. And then highly, highly recommend you go grab Dr. Glenn Livingston's book, and I can put that in the description as well. I think those will help you immensely. Okay, I think I have answered all the other previous questions. Oh, this was the fun one I left for late from Instagram. I don't remember the name of the account because it was not a person's name, I don't think, that I can shout out. Let me see whose question I'm answering. Oh, Maz5133 on Instagram. This is for you. Macro split for losing the last 5 to 10 pounds on carnivore for bikini holiday. I'm guessing you're talking about like going on a vacation where you're going to be wearing a bikini. All right, so here's the deal. It is impossible for me to advise or answer a question about macros without knowing a lot of information about you and your background. There are no arbitrary formulas that I recommend or macro splits to get those last pounds off. It's all going to be relative to you and your specifics. What have you been eating? What have you been doing? What is your activity level like? How long have you been doing this? How is your body responding? What's your biofeedback? What's your current body composition? What's your goal body composition? So many things. These are the kinds of questions we ask when people come into the academy to help them figure out which particular macros, right? Because I don't do ratios or formulas. We give specific, this many grams of protein, this many grams of fat, this many grams of carbs based on the person and their goals and their body composition and their background. So if you are interested in a consult, I do offer those on my website. It includes an in-depth questionnaire, very in-depth questionnaire with your background and 2 calls. We would do an initial consult call after I receive your information and I do a little bit of digging into your situation. I'm going to ask a bunch more questions. I will help you sketch out a plan together on the call, and I will follow up with my recommendations via email. And then 30 days later, we would have a follow-up call where you would give me some updates on what you've been doing, and I can give you some advice about what I would do next. You can ask some of the ladies in the group. Jen did a consult with me. Some of our Academy members sometimes will book a consult. And this is a thing with my consults, if let's say you're not already working with me one-on-one and you would like to consider coaching, I will apply the consult fee that you paid towards a coaching package, private coaching package of your choice in the future. So this goes for anyone, Academy members or anyone who wants a consult. You can check that out on my website, nataliejgrasso.com. I'll put the specific link to the consult information in the description as well. All right. Mary Grace, are you responding to somebody else's question, I'm guessing, about height and lean body mass? I'm guessing that's not a question for me. Does anybody else have any live questions while we're on? And then I will just double check here to make sure that I haven't missed any new ones that may have come in the group or on Instagram. Oh, we might have some new ones. Let's see. Oh, I see. Mary Grace, you're sharing. Mary Grace was sharing a new question that was shared in the Facebook group from Jenny. Okay, so from Jenny C, I'm wondering about your height and lean body mass. I feel like you're in the petite range for height. If you're asking about me, oh boy, petite is an understatement. Your girl is 4'11 3/4. I claim 5 feet, but on a show day many moons ago, I was heighted at a competition and they told me, they had the nerve to put on the sheet of paper 4'11 3/4. In case y'all didn't know, apparently when you get extremely lean, you even lose body fat between your vertebrae. So you can actually lose 1/4 inch. So I'm going to say that when I'm not stage lean, I'm 5 feet. Okay, I see it now. Thanks, Mary Grace. Like she wants to know yours. Yeah, so my height is 5 feet. I'm claiming it. And lean body mass, let's see. I got to calculate that where I'm at right now. I just been hanging out at a new low this prep, and I'm currently 8 weeks out to a show. So let's keep that in mind. I don't live here. So I'm just under 118 right now. I'm sitting at like 117.7 pounds and 19 point something % body fat. I've got to look and see what it was. We'll just say 19.5 because I can't remember exactly. Okay. So that means I have about 22.9 pounds of body fat on my body on this 117.7 pound frame. So about 94.7 pounds of lean body mass. According to InBody, they don't give you lean body mass. Oh, maybe they do. No, they give me skeletal muscle mass and body fat. So my skeletal muscle mass currently is sitting at 53.4 pounds. Usually it's somewhere between 52 and 53 pounds, and it'll go up and down 51 point something, 53 point something, 52 point something, but usually it's in that 52 to 53 pound range for skeletal muscle mass. So, and this kind of relates back to last week's masterclass where I broke down what all these different terms are, but skeletal muscle is everything but like the smooth muscles of your organs. So it's the muscle that we want to build, right? And then my body fat percentage right now is around 19 to 20, between 19 and 20%. And body fat mass is sitting around 23 pounds. And that means my lean body mass, which InBody does not tell me, but if I were to calculate it, it would be about 94, 95 pounds. My goal is to get to 100 pounds of lean body mass and probably living somewhere around 21, 22% body fat. So, although I gotta say, I'm feeling very comfortable where I am right now. So it's possible that in my next off-season, building season, I'll probably be sitting a little leaner than I have in past building seasons, because I have gotten up to, generally I get up to like 24, 25% body fat in my off seasons, and it's a little uncomfortable. I do prefer to be a little lower than that. So I'm feeling very good here. I remember feeling great at this weight and body composition on my last prep. I remember 117, the number 117 stands out in my mind as a time where I remember just feeling like I could live here. And it was the same post show. I stayed around that weight for a while after the show, and it felt good. So we will see what happens this year, and if I'm in a rush to eat more food and get more body fat on me or not. It's easy to say one thing when you're 8 weeks out. It's another thing when you're coming off stage and you're depleted. Yeah, Celeste, I feel you. Gosh, the difference I feel with 1% more body fat is crazy. It's so true. It's so interesting, because when I was at 25%, and I think I saw it tip up to 26 one time, and I was like, oh, heck no, we ain't doing that. And that's when I really kind of dialed things in my off season, when I just kind of got comfortable, and then got a little too comfortable. And then I was like, all right, no, we're not. I have my guardrails. That's what I like to call my guardrails. So, but 24 and 25 are an uncomfortable place for me to be. And that's really different for all different people. And also remember this when I say this, because everybody always gets this mixed up. Different methods measure you differently. So when I say 24, 25% for me is uncomfortable, that's on my InBody. I believe DEXA had me at least a couple percentage points higher than that. So by DEXA, it was like 27%, I think. So, and then if I were to use, I didn't use Navy at the time. I haven't used Navy in a while. I might do that just out of sheer curiosity. I don't know where the Navy body fat would have put me. But just getting down 5 pounds on a little body, especially a short, petite frame like myself, it feels massively different. I feel so much better where I am now than even where I was when I walked in the fashion show, the Angel Competition Bikinis fashion show in May. I was sitting around 121, 122, and I think I was around 21 or 22% body fat at that point. I think 22% body fat at that point in time. And that had come down, from 25%. And I still didn't feel comfortable then. And then another 5 pounds, and it makes massive, massive difference on my body. So, and the crazy thing is, from here to the end of the prep, the next 6 weeks from now until peak week and then show day, this is where the biggest changes are going to happen. Tomorrow morning, sometime tomorrow, I'm going to post on my Instagram. I did a little side-by-side today. I had not done any kind of comparison photos. I've done check-in photos throughout this prep, and I posted those when I do my updates on YouTube and Instagram, but I had not done any kind of side-by-side. So I looked back at the beginning of the prep, 2 weeks in versus now 11 weeks in. And so you can definitely see a difference in the definition in my body. But it'll be interesting to show from now until the end versus the beginning to now. because the next 6 to 7 weeks are going to be insane. The difference in the last 6 weeks of a prep, I always call that like that's when the magic happens, because it is, your body is changing all the time. When you get that lean, you just start seeing the changes on a more day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So lots more to come on that. I have a lot to share on my next prep update. So I'm going to try to film that this week and get that out before the weekend. All right, ladies, I've been rambling long enough. We are over an hour again, but thanks for the awesome questions, for the great grab bag chat. And I think we delved into some good stuff, and I'll drop some masterclass links and resource links in the description so y'all can continue to geek out on this stuff. Anytime you have questions that you want me to hold for the next Ask Me Anything, you can drop those in the comments here. You can drop them in the Facebook group, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I'll just keep them and hold them and share them on a future video. All right, ladies, have a wonderful week. Go crush it. Tomorrow's October 1st. So happy fall and first day of a new month. The possibilities are endless. Love y'all. Hit a quick flex for Juliana. Good night. Bye.